Often when it comes to stories, a character leaves or becomes less important when their role is finished. You see this in many stories with varying levels of quality. But what if a character sticks around? How does that character affect the larger world? And how does the story play out if that character is still there? Well, we are answering that question today in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe. What if Serenity Wheeler, Joey's little sister, never left the show? Before we get started, we need to reintroduce Serenity's character. So, just in case anyone forgot who she is. She was a character in the original Yu-Gi-Oh series, first appearing in Season 1. However, these were limited to small appearances. Her role was a motivation for Joey. She was in dire need of a surgery, and Joey was in the Duel Monster tournament to win the money to help her out. And even though Joey didn't win the tournament, Serenity still got the money because Yugi won the tournament and gave Joey the money like an absolute bro. Serenity doesn't appear again until the third season, where she takes a more active role, mostly on the blimp and during the Virtual World arc, where she did duel with Tristan and do against that robot guy knight. But after season 3, she left the series. She appeared 2 more times on the phone and during the credits in the last episode. But now we get to the meat of the video. Note, I will be changing some aspects of the original stories so we don't just get a carbon copy. That means there's going to be new stuff. Think of it as both that question I asked at the beginning of the video and a partial rewrite of season 4 of the show. A bit of a way to exercise some creative ideas. With that being said, let's begin. What if Serenity sticked around for season 4? What if she became a more active character? Firstly, we must set up the situation. In this timeline, Serenity, instead of going back home, she instead says, "No, I haven't seen him in years, and I don't want to leave him when I just met him again." Yeah, when you look at the whole Battle City arc, the Cyber World arc, and the final tournament arc of the season, it doesn't take that much time up in universe. Battle City takes up at most a couple of days, since there's not a significant passage of time. The Cyber World arc could very well be a couple of hours, although it's more likely it could be a day, because the actual duels don't really take that long, and there's no passage of time. And the final tournament is at most a couple of days, since again, no passage of time. So yeah, if you haven't seen your loved ones in years, you would probably want to stick around for at least a little longer. She pretty much tells her mother, "I can't leave Joey, I just got him to know him again. We have been through so much that I can't just go home now." This works, and she sticks around with the gang. Now for some more setup for Serenity. In this timeline, Serenity is living with Joey, spending time, and going to school with him. Well, like anyone actually goes to school in this show. We now see the start of Serenity's character arc for this season, becoming a more confident person. Why do I use this arc? Well, it does build off the ideas back in the Cyberworld arc. In that arc, Tristan, Duke, and Serenity did take on one of the big 5. Tristan kinda died. Don't worry, he got better. Kind of. During that battle, Serenity had a bit of a mental breakdown because she thought Tristan died. But after Joey gave her a bit of pep talk, she musters the courage to take on Nesbit and win. So this would be the logical continuation of Serenity's character, becoming more confident in herself. During the early stages of the arc, Joey is teaching Serenity how to play duel monsters properly, improving her overall skill at the game and teaching her ways to play it. Seeing that Serenity does have talent for the game since of the aforementioned Nesbit battle. She just needs to improve on it significantly. Now you might be thinking, this is similar to Joey's arc from the past, where he was pretty bad at the game at the start, but he became better over time. I will admit, this is somewhat similar, but I think it's different enough. This shows Joey's character progression from season 1. Back then, he was basically the worst duelist ever, but now he's become a mentor figure, giving tips and tricks to his little sister, becoming what his friends were to him back in season 1. For Serenity, it's not just learning how to become a better duelist, she's spending time with a brother that she barely seen in years. So it means a lot to Serenity when she's practicing with Joey. She's bonding with him, making up for all the lost time. So while this arc is similar to Joey's season 1 arc, it's different enough to be considered a different story. It shows how these characters have progressed over the years, and it's a nice little moment that summarizes their growth. Now, let's move forward to the Season 4 arc, Waking the Dragons. So the story would follow similar beats to the original story from the show. God cards are stolen, they have to travel to America to meet Pegasus. All the while, we get like Serenity just like hanging out like in the background with the other characters. We start to see some changes with the first fight between Joey and Mai. Serenity is reacting as well as you think she would when she finds out one of her friends is now working for a cult. Well, poorly. Throughout this battle, Serenity's pleading with Mai, saying this isn't her. Serenity continues, "You wouldn't do something like this." To which Mai responds, "Then you never knew me at all." This breaks Serenity's heart, seeing Mai like this, but she's more grief-stricken when she sees that Mai has PTSD from like being in the Shadow Realm and the torture she went through all that time. It has changed her. It makes it hard for Serenity to look at Mai throughout this entire duel. During the battle, we do see Serenity like having a hard time watching, seeing that her brother is taking on one of her best friends. Now, of course she's gonna go for Joey. He is her brother. It's just not exactly a good situation when you see two people you love fighting a game where one of them could lose their soul. The duel plays out the way it does in the show. It's a draw and the baddies escape. Or so we think. We'll get back to that soon. The beats play out like they did in the show. Kaiba shows up and the gang goes around the building seeing what happened to the place. But something's different. This time, we see two figures in the surveillance room. We see they are a member of Dart's crew as one of them bears his green crystals. They mention that they are just simply there to be scouts, to see what our heroes are planning next. Although one of the two wants more from this mission. This would be a perfect time to jump them, but his associate isn't having any of it. "Excuse me, but we're not here to duel people. We're simply here to keep an eye on the duelists. Since when do you run from a fight? Since we have been given orders to spy on them. Besides, you're not exactly up to the King of Games or Seto Kaiba." "Well, what about her?" He points to Serenity. "She doesn't seem that good of a duelist." "You'll get in trouble. Lord Darts will be grateful that I took the initiative to grab more souls. Let's move." Back with the heroes, they reach Pegasus' room. They watch Pegasus' vlog and learn what they are facing. After the message, the crew discusses what they learn. Of course, Kaiba doesn't believe any of it, and this causes the conflict just like we saw in the original show. But they start to hear footsteps coming. They look to the doorway and see two men standing there. Kaiba demands who these guys are. He's getting really tired of all the stuff he's been through these past few days. The villains reveal themselves. Introducing Luther and Maxi, servants of the Orichalcos. Don't remind me of that, bro. So now it's time for creative reasoning. You're asking, who are these guys? They weren't in the original show. You are correct. I wanted to change a few things up to throw a curveball and throw something unexpected at you guys. Plus, these guys are going to be incorporated into the wider plot, not just for the Serenity arc. Although they'll play a role in that too. Kaiba says annoyed, "Not this silly stuff again. Aren't you a bit old for bedtime stories?" Luther's annoyed by Kaiba's insult, but Max had a different reaction. Well, he does have a point. This is quite silly. Luther ignores him. He then points to Serenity and says, "I challenge you to a duel." Serenity's surprised, and she doesn't know what to think about this challenge. But Joey opposes it, knowing Serenity's not ready for a duel. But Luther offers Serenity a deal. He can return Mai back to her old self if she can beat him in a duel. Serenity briefly pauses to think about Luther's offer, but she accepts it nonetheless to save Mai. Joey's taken aback, and he tells Serenity not to do this, it's too risky and she'll lose her soul. Serenity says that she is willing to take that risk, saying that Joey would do the same thing if he was the one who got challenged. Joey yells that this is a bad idea, but Serenity says that it'll be okay. Joey taught her well. "I'm gonna win this." The duel begins, much to the horror of the game, especially Joey. Quick side note, I'm not going to break down the duels turn by turn, most because it would take much longer and I don't think I have the resources to properly show this. in its true awesomeness. In the OG series, we had awesome music, funny moments, good animation, and pretty great voice actors. I'm one voice actor with the budget of a shoebox. Yeah, not exactly big bucks. However, I will summarize the battles and what happens in them, and any plot elements that will come up. With that being said, back to the show. Serenity does put a good fight throughout the duel, showing that she has greatly improved and has become a somewhat competent duelist. But Luther is outclassing her throughout it. He has several monsters, spells, and traps that stop Serenity from attacking or pulling any plans that she could have up her sleeve. This worries Joey. He doesn't want to lose his sister, and he feels helpless he can't do anything about it. But he notices something. Luther hasn't played the Seal of Orichalcos. Usually, the seal is established early in the game, but at no point has Luther played the Seal of Orichalcos. This brings Joey's spirits up. If Luther doesn't play the seal, Serenity won't lose her soul. On the other hand, Yugi and the Pharaoh are more concerned. Seeing that while it's possible for Luther not to draw the seal yet, it's just as possible that he has it and he's saving it for something. For what? They don't know. Back to the duel, Serenity is engaging in conversation with Luther and Maxie. She asks who they are and why are they taking people's souls. Luther introduces himself properly, as well as his younger brother Maxie. Luther doesn't say much. They are simply servants of darts. That's all that anyone needs to know. He adds on, "It's not like you're gonna live long enough to learn more about me." But Serenity manages to finally break through his defenses and lands 1,000 points of damage on Luther. Maybe we could have a little moment where Cabot takes a dig at Joey. "Well, Wheeler, your little sister's more of a duelist than you." Can't say I'm surprised though. Current check on the life points: Luther, 3,000. Serenity, 700. Not a good sign, but Joey's still cheering Serenity on. "You got a shot, Serenity. Don't give up." But Luther reveals that he's been dragging this duel out for a while. He's been waiting to draw the seal, but he hasn't gotten it. So he just wants to cut to the end of the duel now. He draws. He has 4 cards in his hand. Serenity has Shank Joan on the field and other cards face down. Luther activates the spell card Polymerization. He fuses Ancient Brain and Tainted Wisdom together to fusion summon his ace card, the Skull Knight. The gang is frightened, but they are slightly cooled off when they see Skull Knight doesn't have enough points to defeat Saint Joan. But Luther has 1 card left, and it's the one he needs. Luther equips the Axe of Despair to his knight, raised its points by 1,000. Now Serenity's in trouble. Luther orders the Skull Knight to attack and destroy St. Joan. The last bits of Serenity's life points are gone, and Luther wins. Joey runs over to Serenity, asking if she's okay. We get a nice little interaction between the two, Joey saying that she put up a great fight during the whole battle. Luther begins to walk away, but Joey yells at Luther, screaming out that he's going to regret messing with a Wheeler. But Luther replies, "And I say to you, run as fast as you can, because the next time I battle you, you will lose your souls. That's a promise. I will finish what I failed to do today. I'll take her soul, and yours as a bonus. Did you hear that?" Joey responds the best way he knows how. "You wanna fight? Because you're gonna get a beat down." Luther responds, "Next time, I'll actually have the Seal of Orichalcos. Isn't that right, Maxie?" Everyone is confused by what Luther said, but Maxie knows he's been figured out. With a big grin on his face, he takes out the card of his pocket and throws it at Luther. "You have the card? What the?" Tristan says, confused. Maxie joins up with Luther. Luther whispers, "We'll discuss this later." Max responds, "I have a feeling that you hate me right now." Luther is annoyed by Maxie's attitude. "Oh, you really do look like you hate me right now." Joey yells out, "Hey, you better tell me how to save her from your brainwashing." Before the brothers leave, Luther says, "Please, we didn't do anything. She chose this path. She chose this life." The answer shocks Joey. He doesn't believe it. He runs after the brothers, demanding the truth. Maxie and Luther disappear in the shadows. The characters are surprised. While most, Cabra's still more annoyed. I'm going to explain why I ended the battle like this, the way I did, along why I had it in the first place. First, I wanted to show what skill level Serenity's at. She's good, but not enough to beat Luther. She still has ways to go in terms of learning how to play the game. Now you might be wondering, Why didn't I use other villains from the show? Why did I use these two new characters? Aside from the plans I have with these characters down the line, it would be impossible to have a duel with the original villains without Serenity losing her soul. So this was the best option. The circumstances around Maxie and Luther stopped this problem, which I will get into later. Returning to the plot, the beats play out the same way in the show. Kappa says, "Screw it, I'm going home." The rest of the game heads out to the next location to find Rebecca and her grandfather. The gang is still hurt by Mai's turn to the dark side. This hits Serenity very hard since she did spend a lot of time with Mai during season 3. But Joey attempts to raise the morale. He knows that the Mai he knows is in there. He just needs to find her and bring her out. This raises the spirits of the gang and provides some hope from this terrible day. Later, Maxie and Luther meet with their crew, and they are greeted with friendly hellos.
Fuck off! Fuck you! Fuck off, you fuck! Oh, paint your face blue!
Yeah, they hate each other. Like, a lot. Well, Violet likes Mai still, but everyone hates each other. Luther confronts Maxie for stealing his card. Maxie says that he doesn't want his brother to play with the seal because Luther could lose his soul. Luther argues back with Maxie, saying that he's not going to lose. If he had the card from the start, it would have been over earlier. Maxie argues with his brother, saying, "This is stupid, you're just doing anything for that crazy guy." "Then why are you here if you're scared of darts?" "Because I'm more paranoid of what he will do to you. He's using you all." Baddies act defensively for darts, saying he is a wise man. Maxie continues to argue, saying that wise guys don't take people's souls, especially if they don't tell you what they're for. But no one is having it. This moment shows the paranoia of Maxie, seeing how frightened he is of darts, but also how brainwashed Darcy's minions are, to show how far they have fallen into Darcy's hands. Luther tells Maxie to shut it, that he'll have a long meeting with darts for his disloyalty, much to the fear of Maxie. The group breaks up and goes on their separate missions. Raphael goes off to kidnap Professor Rowan and does the thing that Kaiba has always dreamed of doing and beats Yugi. If you're wondering why I'm skipping over certain big events, it's because these events don't change at all in the universe. Putting Serenity in Season 4 doesn't change everything. The Pharaoh still loses Yugi and gets floor wiped by Raphael. Some things are just inevitable, so to save time, putting Serenity in Season 4 doesn't change everything, and focus a little bit more on things that would change if Serenity was here. After that, we do get the big morning for Yugi, and our heroes go across the country. Serenity tags along, wanting to learn more about the game from her brother. She knows that she got lucky last time. If it wasn't for Maxie, she would have been taken by the Orichalcos. So she wants to be ready just in case she has to fight another one of Darcy's goons. So Joey teaches her more, giving her the wisdom that believe in your deck. If you can do it, then anything is possible. In this version, Yugi still battles Weevil, Joey battles Rex, same result, Will gets murdered, and I do mean murdered. And now our heroes continue on their journeys to find each other. I'm going to focus on Joey, Serenity, and Tristan for the time being. The other story elements with Yugi, T, Duke, and Rebecca will not have changes to them, so they will remain the way they are, because these elements don't change under these circumstances. They are essentially the same scenes from the show, so there's nothing new to cover. Don't worry, we'll get back to them soon. So back with Joey, Serenity, and Tristan, they are walking through the desert with a knocked out Weevil and Rex. Of course, we get classic Tristan trying to impress Serenity. He does casual flirting, trying to cheer her up. Serenity is cheered up, although she is quite oblivious to Tristan's intent. Although Joey's aware, and he's kind of annoyed by Tristan's actions. Joey's going up in Tristan's face, saying, "Seriously, Tristan? This is not the time where you do that." A little argument ensues, played up for comedic purposes. This interaction is a little moment of levity and comic relief. These characters have been through so much, are in a crappy place right now, since they are separated from Yuki and T and have no idea where they're going or what they're going to do. But this little moment here takes it off them. They are happy. Their minds are taken away from their dire circumstances. But it doesn't last long as they are thrust back into the predicament. Joey notices two people ahead of him, but he can't make them out. Thinking that it's Yugi and Taya, he runs towards them. But it turns out he's wrong. Joey, Serenity, and Tristan are shocked. How did he find us? We're in the middle of nowhere. Maxie answers, "We've been following you for the past few miles. I wanted to find the perfect moment to ambush you. We could have ambushed them for the past hour, but you'd rather waste time, little brother. It's the most I deserve. Joey, of course, being annoyed, yells at them. What are you doing here? Luther responds, I'm here to claim my victory. This early? Said Serenity, surprised. Be happy that I gave you this amount of time. Joey isn't having any of this. He's not letting Luther fight Serenity, especially what happened last time. Luther understands, so he'll fight both of them, which takes both the Wheelers and Tristan by surprise. But Maxie isn't really taking it that well, saying that there's no way Luther can defeat two duelists at once. Luther is confident, but to keep Maxie calm, he'll enjoy the duel. Joey and Serenity reluctantly accept the challenge, since it's the only way they'll be able to get through them. Joey and Serenity versus Maxie and Luther. So here's how the duel will work. Each duelist will have 4,000 life points each, but they'll have to share their battlefield. If one duelist is knocked out, the other duelist must carry on. The duel begins between the siblings. In the first round, Luther activates the seal of Orichalcos. It gives him like the little symbol on his head and the red eyes. He summons a monster and ends his turn. Strangely though, Maxie doesn't have the red eyes or the symbol on his head. Joey and Serenity don't think much about it as they're focused on the duel. Joey goes, and now it heads to Maxie's turn. Now this is where the stranger stuff happens. When referring to why Maxie hasn't changed, the Wheeler siblings think that's just because the seal is not Maxie's card, so that's why he doesn't have those traits. But when it gets to Maxie's turn, when he summons a monster, the monster doesn't get a power boost. Joey and Serenity are confused by this, seeing that Luther's seal should have been powering up Maxie's monsters as well, but Luther answers why this is the case. The seal only works on cards of the owner, so that's why Maxie's cards are still the same. This brings a slight ease to the Wheeler siblings, but this brings up another question. Why hasn't Maxie activated his seal of the Orichalcos card, so he can power up as well? Well, simply put, Maxie doesn't want to activate the seal. Heck, he doesn't even have the card in his deck. Maxie is downright terrified of using the seal, paranoid of its power and everyone who is using it. So it's fair to say that he's working for his brother, then darts. Now this leads into some backstory with the two. Maxie reveals that Luther and himself have been on their own for years. Their parents died when they were young and had to be forced to live on their own as thieves or whatever else they can do. For years, the only thing they had were each other and their love for duel monsters. Max in particular always loved the game. For some reason, he just gravitated towards it, feeling a special connection to it. He imagines the monsters to be his imaginary friends. But one day, their lives are changed forever. They returned to their hideout, and a man had broken into it and was waiting for them. And that man was Darts. Despite the hostility from Luther and Maxie, since breaking into someone's house is kind of rude, Darts is polite to the two. He chats them up, praising them for their talent both as thieves and duelists. However, the two brothers aren't keen on Darts, demanding to know who he is. Darts responds saying that he's the person that will give them everything they have ever desired. Peace and relaxation. To enjoy life, the two brothers remain skeptical, thinking that Darts is just talk. However, Darts says 5 words to convince Luther. I know your brother's secret. The brothers are in shock. This mysterious man knows whatever secret Maxie holds. Darts continues to talk, saying that if they join him, he will give them their wishes and help Maxie with his little secrets. The brothers are tempted, but unsure what to do. But Darts begins to use his power to influence the minds of these brothers, trying to convince them to come with him. The flashback ends before we see anything else, and we return to the duel. Maxie says after the meeting, he and Luther join Darts, although Maxie has refused to use the seal of Orichalcos, being completely terrified of it, which he is belittled by Luther for not having the courage to take the next step. In a surprise turn of events, Joey tells Luther to stop picking on Maxie. Joey explains that's not how a big brother should act. They should protect their younger siblings, not insult and belittle them. Luther calmly rebuttals Joey, saying this isn't his business and won't be after Joey and Serenity loses. During the battle, we see the difference between Maxie and Luther's cards. While Luther uses monsters that are more defensive and not, as hideous as other monsters, Maxie's the opposite. His monsters are fiends, horrific creatures to look at, like the mask guards or other types of fiends. It sets up the style of their dueling, which we'll get to in a minute. For Serenity's turn, she begins downing herself again, since she has to face Luther and Maxie now, and last time it didn't go too well for her and she only had to fight one of them. But Joey reassures her that they are going to make it and that they're going to win this for their friends and to save Mai. This boosts Serenity's confidence, giving her a "I'm gonna kick some butt" attitude. Now the duel will be a tug of war between the good guys and the bad guys, but it's more in favor of the villains in the first few rounds. Joey and Serenity prepared to fight Luther since they know his style, but Maxie is the exact opposite of Luther. He sends all his monsters to attack as much as he can for maximum damage, contrasting with Luther's more restrained, defensive style. Therefore, Joey and Serenity are thrown off their game at first. Given the first few rounds to Maxie and Luther, they also suffer damage from both brothers' attacks. Side note, this becomes important later. The tides begin to change though, as Joey and Serenity begin to mount a comeback after comeback. The reason why they are coming back is that Joey and Serenity know how to communicate with each other and work better together, while Maxie and Luther aren't. They clash with each other, working alone rather than together. This lack of cooperation results in them ignoring each other and making mistakes that could have saved each other from losing monsters, i.e. not activating trap cards to save the other's monster from being destroyed. Maxie admits he's holding himself back. He doesn't want anyone to lose their soul, not because he cares about them, but because he doesn't want darts to have more souls. During these rounds, we learn about Maxie and Luther's relationship, how far they have drifted away from each other. Luther pledges his loyalty to darts, despite Maxie saying this is a bad idea to follow him, but Luther doesn't listen to him. He just follows darts' orders. This little argument is meant to make you feel sympathy for Maxie, as all he wants to do is reach out to his only family, but Luther's just pushing him away. Back to the duel. The big moment of the duel. The first knockout. Life point count, Luther 1700, Maxie 1900, Joey 1700, Serenity 1200. Luther decides that he's done waiting. He wants those souls for darts now. He summons his Skull Knight to the field. The monster's attack is raised to 3150. Next, Luther equips the Axe of Despair, increasing Skull Knight's attack points to 4150. Now Skull Knight will attack Joey's Red Eyes Black Dragon with its 2400 attack points. But Joey has a few tricks up his sleeve. 2 face downs. First, he'll activate Metalmorph, powering up Joey's Dragon to 2700. Luther remarks that it's not enough to defeat Skull Knight, but Joey has his second card, Skull Dice. The dice rolls as everyone looks in anticipation. The fate of the game could lie in this roll. The dice lands. It's a 5! Much to the horror of Maxie and Luther. Now Skull Knight's attack points reduced to 830. Now a single terrifying thought rushes through Maxie's mind. Red has enough points to wipe out Luther's life points. Luther is about to lose. Maxie screams out for his brother's name, running towards Luther. Skull Knight is destroyed, as of the rest of Luther's life points. Maxie screams out, "No!" The seal begins to close around Luther as he accepts his fate. Maxie hugs his brother, begging him not to go. But Luther knows what will happen next. He knows his soul will be taken. Before Luther leaves, he whispers, "I'm sorry. I did it all for you. Darts promised me you could control that power, but I messed up. I'm sorry." Luther's body falls to the ground, lifeless. Maxie keeps calling out for his brother's name, yelling for him to come back. Joey and Serenity look as Maxie begins to break down. They knew what it was like to lose a sibling. They knew that pain. However, Tristan notices the seal is gone. Tristan figures that since Luther was the owner when his soul got taken, the seal disappeared. No one else will lose their souls. Back to the battlefield, Joey and Serenity try to comfort Maxie, saying that they'll get his brother back. But Maxie isn't listening. He is slowly being consumed by rage. He gets back up and looks at his opponents. Nothing but hate in his eyes. You took my brother, my only family, and now I do that to you. His deck begins to glow with a black energy, much to the confusion of everyone else there. "What's going on? What's with his deck?" Tristan asks. Max responds, "Now, beware my power." Wow, this video really went on much longer than I thought. It's like I'll have to break this part up into 2 parts. I hope you enjoyed part 1. It was fun to do, and I look forward to what comes next. Now, I want to pay your attention to the description. The artist that I have commissioned for like the Maxine Luther art, she did an amazing job. I recommend you go follow her Instagram page. She's amazing. I hope you like and follow her content and enjoy what she makes. Now then, I hope to see you guys soon. See you next time.